Good morning and welcome everyone. We'll give everyone just a few minutes to come in from the waiting room. Welcome to the My Texas Future Learning Institute, session 4. This is our last one for this academic year. As you come in, Lauren just said hello in the chat. Thank you for being here this morning. We know it's a very busy time of year in the spring. Just go ahead and take a moment and say hello in the chat, who you are and where you're from. We welcome lots of folks from middle schools, high schools, higher ed institutions, community organizations, and many others. So just a few sort of housekeeping items. We know many of you have been to earlier sessions. But we will send you all of the materials, the PowerPoint, all of the links that we cover in the chat, as well as our recording to everyone that has registered for the session. As I mentioned, this is the last session of the year, so we'll have some follow-up for those of you who have joined the Learning Institute that we started in the fall. So we're designing for next year. So please take a look at anything. We love to hear your feedback as we redesign and change things for the 25-26 school year to see how best you can implement and use My Texas Future as we move forward. One other thing too, I see lots of folks saying hello in the chat. We know a lot of questions come up and we have different guest speakers that can answer those as we go. They disappear in the chat. So if you could please put those in the Q&A box. Everybody on our staff is going to keep an eye on those and we'll answer them throughout the session. And we will also provide some time at the end to address those questions if we haven't answered them yet. So moving, you can go to the next slide, Andrea. So as I mentioned, this is our last session, and the Learning Institute has been really, I think, really well attended and a great deep dive into this new tool, My Texas Future. So we're thrilled to support your student success this year. We've developed a lot of new and exciting features, some that we'll cover today. And today our session is Comprehensive Career Exploration for All Learners. If you are just joining for the first time, My Texas Future is a new digital platform that provides resources tailored to the needs of all different kinds of Texas learners. That includes middle school students, anyone 13 or older, high school students, college students, and adult learners. So we have tried to make the My Texas Future career planning experience a little bit more personal, meaningful, lots of rich data in here. Daniela and the team are going to talk a little bit more about that. And we have a lot of really great data on regional jobs that are in demand in Texas, all over the state, as well as real world earnings. So the next slide has our agenda. We're going to get started here really very soon. We're just going to say hello to the team, talk a little bit about what we're doing in today's session. We have till 11:30. We may not take all that time, but we do have 90 minutes. And we have a few exciting things we're going to cover this morning. One is single sign-on for My Texas Future and ApplyTexas. We use the term deployed. That feature was deployed, I believe, last week. So single sign-on, we're hoping your students that's working efficiently. We want to tell you a little bit about how to use that. We're also going to talk about the career quiz, and we have a brand new skills quiz that our product team is going to show you this morning. That's brand new in My Texas Future. We always get amazing, bright ideas from everyone that is using My Texas Future or thinking about how to use it either this year or next year with your students. So we're going to share some of your bright ideas. And then we still have some launch kits that are available if you would like some stickers and pens and things like that to use in your role. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. So that's our agenda for this morning. This is obviously the last session, but the goals of why we created this Learning Institute, many of you know those, but just really quickly, I want to mention, we really wanted to give everyone some in-depth information on how to use My Texas Future now with your students in whatever role you're in. We also created a set of educator toolkits. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the third toolkit that we have that is for educators. We have, a walkthrough of ApplyTexas and single sign-on. And we also want to make sure that you all that come to our sessions get continuing professional ed credit for your certifications in the field. In case you're wondering who should attend, everyone is welcome. We see counselors, advisors, teachers, administrators, higher ed staff, higher ed advisors and administrators are encouraged to participate. So please feel free to share this resource if you have some colleagues that you think would benefit from it. The next slide just simply talks a little bit about today's session, where we wanted to dive into career exploration for all learners. So if you're new to the career quiz and the career explorer, we're going to talk about what that looks like. I mentioned single sign-on with ApplyTexas, and we also added, as I mentioned, the skills quiz that Amy's going to guide you through this morning. And you're already registered, so we'll send you all of the recordings and all of the materials for our last session this year on My Texas Future. Our team is here. Everybody's here, I believe, except for Ariana Wells. But I'm Laura Gugan, Director of Professional Learning and Engagement. Andrea's here this morning, sharing her screen and covering some information, as well as Lauren, who's covering Bright Ideas. Jared is dropping links. And Ariana sends all of the CPE credits to our attendees. I'll kick it over to the product team. Daniela, you want to go first?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for having me. It's been awesome to do this learning series with you all. My name is Daniela Carrillo, and I am the program manager for both My Texas Future and Direct Admissions. And I'll pass it off to Tina.
Hi, Tina Whittings. I'm the product operations manager, where I facilitate data analytics and user research to help us make decisions on how to improve our websites. So you may hear from me if we need your opinion.
And I'm Amy Ziegner. I'm the user experience designer on the product team. I work alongside Tina, working on both the visual and experience design for our websites like My Texas Future and ApplyTexas. And I often reach out to users like students and educators to find ways to improve our products. So excited to be here with y'all today.
Thank you all so much. All right, I'll kick it over to Daniela.
Awesome. Well, as this entire series has been focused on My Texas Future, we've made some really big changes in the past week or so. So we definitely want to take some time to highlight what those changes are. As a reminder for anyone who has not participated in any of our My Texas Future Institute sessions, My Texas Future is a college and career platform for all Texans. So anyone starting from the grade levels of 6th grade all the way up to adult learners, no matter the age, My Texas Future is there to guide and inform what the college and career going process looks like in the state of Texas. Next slide, please. So one of the main features that we recently updated in My Texas Future is really trying to link our goal of making this a cohesive process. So as many of you are familiar of ApplyTexas, we are now trying to make this process a lot easier for students and users to be able to log in. As you know, many students have to memorize many different types of email addresses and passwords just to go through the college going process. Trying to make this process a little bit easier by allowing students to have the same login for both My Texas Future and ApplyTexas. So as of last week, students are now able to utilize their login that they have either used previously for ApplyTexas or for My Texas Future on either sites. If students have already had a previous account that either on ApplyTexas or My Texas Future, all they will need to do is reset their password and log in again to be able to log into either website with that same login information. So really exciting stuff. Really the ultimate goal is for any student that is younger than 12th grade and who already is accessing My Texas Future is able to really grow into their My Texas Future and ApplyTexas learner profile accounts and grow that with them as they move on to different grade levels. So lots of exciting changes with this and hopefully making this process a little bit easier for students as they move forward towards their college going process. Next slide, please. The other feature that does come with that is allowing students to sync their information that they are collecting in My Texas Future to their ApplyTexas accounts. So one thing that we do want to make very clear is that the information only goes one way. So any information that is collected in the learner profile in My Texas Future can be synced directly to ApplyTexas. So students, especially those students prior to 12th grade, if they are using this as sort of as a diary or a collection of their high school, middle school information as they go through their academic journey. Then once the time comes for them to use ApplyTexas to apply to schools, they can easily sync that information over to ApplyTexas without having to fill that information all over again. So I've heard from a lot of different counselors that this is a huge request, especially coming from the extracurricular sections where we know that students have to input a lot of different pieces of information, but as well as even just the general core questions of the ApplyTexas section being filled out prior to them even applying, which is always nice and convenient for students and counselors as they are supporting them. If students keep their profiles up to date, they won't have to worry about doing this process all over again once the time comes to apply. So as a reminder, especially for all of our counselors working with younger students prior to 12th grade, this is definitely going to be a great exercise to use in the classroom with them. So next slide. And lastly, the most recent addition that we added to My Texas Future is a new quiz. So we'll be talking a lot more in depth about these quizzes. We previously have already had one of these quizzes, which is the interest quiz, previously known as the careers interest quiz. We've switched it more to be generally focused to general interest. So students can really utilize this quiz to recommend either career clusters or endorsements that fit their overall interests. Then leading them to the skills quiz, which really will help them discover careers based off of their current skills, and also utilizing the information if they've previously taken the interest quiz to match up to that information as well. There's no suggested way in terms of which one is better to use first or which one should be done second, etc. But we do recommend that if the student wants a comprehensive view, to start off with the interest quiz and then utilize the skills quiz. Again, we'll be talking much more in depth about this as we go throughout the presentation, but these are just the new features that we've launched in the past week for My Texas Future. And I'll pass it on to Amy.
Thanks, Daniela. So now we're going to dig into that skills quiz and see exactly what it looks like. I'm going to invite you all to take this quiz right along with me. So if you have your cell phones handy, you can take those out and scan the QR code on the screen. Jared is also going to drop a link in the chat in just a moment to the skills quiz. If you want to take it in a different window on your computer, that's great too. But I'm going to now share my screen so we can see exactly what this looks like and what the skills quiz has to offer. And here we go. Let me come over to this browser and I am already in the quiz looking at the first of 8 steps. Now, as we go through it, you're going to see that the skills quiz is broken down into different sections. Some of the sections are hard skills areas like science and healthcare, like technology. Some of the sections are soft skills. They're people skills, organization, and leadership skills. But before we look at the questions, I also want to call your attention to these different skill levels at the top of the screen, ranging from unfamiliar up to advanced. And these are things that I really encourage you to call your students' attention to, because they're going to help students think about where they fall in all of these different topics. So for students, let's say, who maybe haven't taken a class in something like chemistry yet, that's something that they might be unfamiliar at. But let's say they have taken AP history courses or AP biology, have done really well in those classes. Those are some areas where they might want to rate themselves as skilled on up to advanced. I mean, maybe they tutor other students or siblings in those areas. You can get them thinking about things like their extracurriculars. Maybe they're on sports teams or in clubs where they're really demonstrating leadership skills, organizational skills. And so it's really important to take this scale into account at the very beginning. Because really the more specific you are as you go through this quiz, the better your results are going to be. It's designed in a way to show you careers in your strengths. So if a student goes through this and thinks, well, I'm just like a beginner to basic in everything, the results are not going to really tell them all that much. But the more particular they are, the better the outcomes are going to be, the better ideas that they're going to get from this quiz. So as I go through it, and I would encourage you to do this as you go through it, really stop and think about how strong or weak you are in any one of these areas. So just like looking at this first page here, I know that sciences in general are not really my strong suit. Even when I was a student, I wasn't particularly good at these things. And just knowing that I don't have a lot of knowledge in these areas now, in something like biology, I might rate myself as a beginner. But going on to the next one, physical activity, sports are something that I do really enjoy and continue to practice pretty thoroughly to this day. I really like running and rock climbing, and those are things that I know a lot about. So I might rate myself as skilled in this area. Something like chemistry, I would say I'm unfamiliar in. Um, Healthcare, I mean, I know a bit about, right, how to keep myself healthy. So maybe I'd say basic in this, but when it comes to things like psychology, I would say I'm a beginner. Science, I don't really use science to solve problems, so I would say I'm unfamiliar here, though I do know a little bit about mental health, just like maintaining mental wellness. So I might say basic in this area. So notice I picked something for each, and now I'm going to go on to the next section. I'll try to think out loud a little less as I go through the rest of this, because again, I'm inviting you to take this quiz along with me. I want everybody to get results in the end. So I'm just going to go through this section a little bit faster now. Rating myself skilled in some areas here. This is something I can't say that I'm particularly knowledgeable about, nor this one, but technology, okay, I'm a little bit stronger in that area. Moving on to arts and culture. This is where I will say, here's something that I'm interested in. I know I really enjoy things like fine arts, but I don't know a lot about music and theater. So even though it's an interest area, it might not be a skills area. And I think that's a good thing to help students distinguish between. We've got the interest quiz to help you think about what you like, and this is to help you think about what you're good at, right? So I will just rate myself beginner to basic here, skilled in this, basic here, more skilled in this area. Going on to people skills now. I think helping people is a strength. Training techniques, yes, stronger in this, but not so great at negotiation. more skilled in these areas. Now we have technology, one of those harder skills. I'm going to say skilled at this, but definitely more of a beginner in math. Actually unfamiliar in this area now that I think about it. I work with computers, but I don't know a lot about programming. Basic in this, troubleshooting. Now getting on to building and repairing. Stuff I wish I knew more about, but I'm going to say that I'm unfamiliar in pretty much all of these areas. Maybe I'm okay at fixing things. Now we're getting into business. So finance, beginner, but a little bit stronger at money management. Some skills in project planning. Not as much here. Right? Notice I go around and sometimes I change my answers. I think those are good things to encourage students to do as well, really thinking deeply about it. And I will say these now leadership and management skills are areas of strength. Okay, and I'm at the point where I'm ready to get my results now. So let's see what I find. And something I want to call out here is the careers for this quiz are broken down by education level. So I can see what kinds of careers I might be a good match for that require a bachelor's degree. I'm seeing things in the education realm, like special education teachers, writing, music. I was a teacher prior to doing this job, so I can say that some of these results really do feel like a good fit for me. And given I'm doing design now, it makes a lot of sense. But I can also poke around and see results here that only require an associate's degree, and even go on then up to the graduate level. So really giving students an idea of what they can do with varying levels of education, kind of really reinforcing different career paths, right? Like you might want to start out in one area and you can progress into another. This gives us a lot to explore. So I'm going to come back over to the slides for a moment. And now I'm really curious to know, as you're wrapping up the quiz within the next minute or so, how well do the results match your skills? And sorry, my screen is taking a minute to load there, but checking on those results. And I'm seeing kind of a mix roughly of 4s and 5s, right? So it looks like we're getting some good matches up to really, really strong matches as far as skills are concerned. Okay. Yeah, looks like 4s and 5s pretty heavily. So from here, we now want to move on to thinking about how some of the features within My Texas Future can help our students, right? We've designed this website to help students figure out what they can do after graduation and what they can study in order to get there. So I'm going to present you now with a few different student scenarios and highlight some features that I think would be really helpful for guiding these students. And then I am going to pass it over to you all to do a little bit of exploration on your own. So we're going to start off with this student, Claudette, who is a senior at Aikens High School in Austin. And she is someone who's really interested in exploring the world of medicine, but she's not sure exactly what she wants to specialize in. She knows that she's interested in taking care of kids, And it looks like she does have some concerns about the cost of going to college. So getting scholarships and learning about financial aid are going to be really important to her. Now, just noticing that Claudette is someone who is interested in medicine, right, is pretty clear about the line of work that she wants to be in, but doesn't know exactly what to specialize in. I would say that this is a student who I would strongly encourage to take that skills quiz that we were just looking at. And I am now going to move back over to My Texas Future. And I'd like for you to imagine that I have Claudette signed into My Texas Future. I've had her take that skills quiz, and now we're going to take a peek at her results, which very conveniently are saved every time she takes one of the quizzes. So you can go to the learner profile, come over to the saved quiz results, and we can see what the outcomes were. Now, I imagine that Claudette is a student who probably was strong in some subjects like biology. She probably rated herself pretty highly in helping others. And so I see here some results like critical care nurses, clinical nurse specialists. And as we go through, there are a couple of careers that we've highlighted as matching her interest quiz results. And these would be then great things for Claudette to explore more because they're careers that line up with what she likes and also what she's good at. So from here, let's just view these details for a moment. And this page now tells us a lot about psychiatric nurses. I think as we've seen in previous sessions, there are details about the anticipated salary, and we could look at the salary for different areas in the state. But some things that I really want to highlight are a couple of new additions. One is going to take a second to load, but you will see now that most of our careers have videos. So students can see what it would look like to do this particular job, get an impression of a day in the life. That really adds like a lot of color and detail to what this career is all about. And in addition to that, we've also incorporated some skills that students need. So you can see a full list of important skill sets for this profession, which is also a really great talking point for students. You can help emphasize some things that they're already really talented at, maybe some areas where they could use a little bit more development. So these are certainly things that we want to bring to your attention to help you guide students around what their interests are and what they might want to pursue. So either from that page or even from these results, I could save this career as something to keep an eye on. I might want to save some of these other options like geneticists here. This might be something that Claudette has never heard about before. So something to really dig into, see what exactly that career means, and yeah, really spark some curiosity. Now, coming back, we want to move on to another student. This student is Stephen. Stephen, I see, is a junior in Corpus Christi. And his situation is a little different. It looks like his interests are a little bit more focused already, right? He is curious about marketing and public relations in particular. I noticed that he's also a member of the school math team. So sounds like math might be a strength of his. And seeing as Stephen already has a little bit more of a focus, I would suggest we take Stephen directly to the Career Explorer And I'm going to clear out some of these things for a moment here. I just want to highlight a couple of the filters that I think would be really useful to point out to him. So I think I'd start off with our career clusters. I would come down to an area like business, marketing, and finance. So we can see a lot of options here. I noticed that getting down to this career field, we get 114 careers, which is a lot to look through. So I'm going to put in public relations, knowing that's something that he's pretty excited about. And I see public relations managers and specialists are the first ones on the list. And what I'd love to do for Stephen is start to compare these two, just to kind of see these careers side by side, comparing the salaries, education levels, employment opportunities. And I wanted to highlight this because I think that this is a great way to talk to students about career paths and opportunities for promotion over time, right? How we grow in different roles. Right? You might start off as just a specialist in something, but move up to the managerial level. And this really showcases how over time, right, your salary, even staying within that field, could practically double. So yeah, really good things to kind of keep note of here. I might want to favorite these as well to come back to later. But I'll come back to the Explorer for just a moment. I want to stay in that business and marketing and finance area and add in, I'm thinking an additional filter might be nice, right? Knowing that he's a student who is on the math team, I would probably want to bring in that strength of his to kind of broaden his horizons here, get him thinking about some other things he can do. So now I'm seeing some results like actuary and investment fund managers. I could add actuary to this comparison. And just coming back here, we could start to maybe focus on those skill sets a little bit more, see where there is some overlap, right? I see like English language, marketing, I think, coming up again. So it gives us an opportunity to point Stephen into some other directions that might be a really good fit for him that he wasn't thinking about before. Last thing I'll say before I turn it over to you all is, like, let's say a student like Stephen is still really set on this particular career path, wants to go into public relations. Remember that My Texas Future helps to connect careers and academics. So just viewing a career details page, you can click Find Programs for this career, bringing us over to our Program Explorer. And we could use this to find some schools in Stephen's area that offer degrees that are going to be a good fit for that career option, right? So just want to keep in mind there's that relationship between the Career Explorer and the Program Explorer. Okay, I've shared a lot about different features, our new quizzes, ways that we can use the Career Explorer to search and some new options on those details pages. And now I do want to turn it over to you all with this last scenario here. So let's focus on Julia, who is a sophomore. She's a little bit younger, out in El Paso. She's interested in things like coding. She really loves her chemistry class, has a lot of fun there. She's a member of the poetry club. She knows she wants to get a good paying job one day, but she's only a sophomore in high school, so she's not really sure exactly, how much she might need to make, especially if she wants to move to a different city. So I'd love to have you all post in the chat, kind of based on what you've seen and kind of poking around My Texas Future. What are some career-related features that you would use to help a student like Julia? And without any clear eyes on the chat right now because of the screen sharing, I might ask one of my colleagues on the line to point out some things that are coming up. And as we are thinking about it, I'll invite you to explore some of those features. So I'll pause here for a moment so you can poke around, right? And then we'd love for you to share out more. What are some of the results that you are finding for Julia? What are some careers that might be of interest to her based on those results?
Looks like everybody's a little quiet on the chat today. Does anybody want to shout out what they think, what they found? What the kind of results did you guys see, like Amy said? Excellent. Thank you, James. James said eventually looking at the bachelor's, a BS degree in a parallel choice like creative writing or English, because those do connect the dots for supporting conglomerates and replying to EPA issues. Very good. Thank you so much. So kind of connecting those two, the creative writing and English piece. Very good. Thank you, James. Anybody else want to chime in? What kind of results did you find, or what do you think would be interesting for Julia to dig into?
Move my slide back for just a moment too, in case we want to see those details about her. And I know it can take some time to go through all of the many career options and features we have. So also just happy before we transition off of this step to take any questions about any of the things that we covered. Anything else comes up in the chat or Q&A, happy to address those now.
We did get another response from Mike. She could be a technical writer for manuals, software guides, or online help content.
Oh, that's a really cool connection between writing and those science interests of hers. So that's a really, really cool find.
Very nice. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, I am going to pass it off now so we can see some of the bright ideas that you have all shared with us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and we'll continue on from here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amy. That was wonderful. Thank you, Daniela. This has been such a wonderful session so far. And we are going to start talking about our bright ideas. So I know that a lot of you guys might already know what our bright ideas are, but for those of you that don't, our bright ideas actually come from you. So during the registration process for our webinars, we ask questions. And you guys respond to those, and we take those responses and we turn them into bright ideas. And I cannot tell you how much we love going through your responses, bright ideas, your tips and tricks, everything that you guys do. And we like to bring that to you in these sessions because we know you guys want to collaborate and hear from each other. So for our first question today, we asked, what career exploration tool do you currently use with your students or recommend? And of course, we got so many great responses from you guys. You guys use Texas Reality Check, My Texas Future, Career One Stop, Big Future, Zello, My Next Move, ONET, School Links, Naviance, College Board, Texas Internship Challenge, and Texas OnCourse Academy, just to name a few. These are all great career exploration resources for you and your students. And I do want to point out that a lot of these actually feed data into My Texas Future, specifically Texas Reality Check, ONET, and Career One Stop actually feed data into My Texas Future. So it's really good to know that that data that you're seeing is coming from these resources. My Texas Future also links out to several of these websites. It links out to Big Future, Texas Internship Challenge, and College Board, just to name a few. So My Texas Future is kind of that one-stop shop where you're getting a lot of this on that one platform, which is really helpful, really streamlines the process for you and students. So we do want to also mention that we know that Naviance and Zello and SchoolLinks has features that My Texas Future doesn't, but My Texas Future is a free resource. It's super easy to navigate for students, very user-friendly, and it's really nice that you kind of get all of this in that one space. So the next question that we asked was, My Texas Future Learner Profile saves students information year after year. How do you see this helping your students? Again, we got so many fabulous responses from this question, so we decided to highlight two. The first one is from Sarah Nickel, who's from Blinn College, and she said, I think it will make the ApplyTexas process less time-consuming if their information is compiled year after year. This is such a great response, Sarah. Thank you so much for that information. And this is so true. And as we have learned from Daniela, that single sign-on is even going to streamline this process even more because students can link their My Texas Future profiles to their ApplyTexas applications. So students will go through the ApplyTexas application with ease and confidence, knowing that all that information is in there. It'll help it be less time-consuming for our students when they're filling out those college applications, which is really nice. And then, as I mentioned, we wanted to share one more response from this question. So Angela Rhymes from Cypress Fairbanks ISD, thank you, Angela. She said that it will allow students to see their progression in school and help build a resume. Exactly, this is such a great response. If your student needs a resume for a job, a scholarship, or an internship, which sometimes our students do, they can reference their My Texas Future profile so that they can make sure to include all of the accomplishments that they've had, all of the extracurricular activities that they've done, all within that resume. And then, of course, the profile will also let them see their progression through school by looking and referring to those careers that they've saved and the programs, like Amy was showing us from the Career Explorer and the Program Explorer. You know, they can save those careers and those programs so that they can always kind of go back to it and see, this is where I was as a freshman, where am I now as a senior? So when it comes time to apply to college, they know where they want to go and they know what they want to do. It's all right there for them, which is really nice. So that concludes our bright ideas for today. And I just want to say thank you again so much for all of your responses. We really do enjoy going through them. And with that, I will turn it over to Laura.
Thanks, Lauren. I always really enjoy bright ideas. We have a great time actually on our team going through everything. It's really hard to pick the ones to highlight, and we do share those and we look at sort of the data you all fill out for us, even if we don't get a chance to highlight it in the session. So last summer, we created, basically aligning with the launch of My Texas Future for K-12s, we created an educator toolkit. We use the term educator as all-inclusive. This could be a Gear Up facilitator, it could be a transition coordinator, it could be a CCMR advisor, or it could be someone in higher ed that you have a partnership with that's helping advise your students. So this is the third educator toolkit. Jared's going to drop the link so that you have access to all of the toolkits. We've created one for middle school, one for high school, and a general educator toolkit. So the next slide talks a little bit about what is in this particular toolkit. We know that it's very difficult and you are all very busy and you can't just explore a website and create all of these things for people to do just on a dime. So we made these 3 toolkits. We also plan to update them and create some additional things based on what we've developed in My Texas Future. So in the toolkit gives you some milestones that you want your students to meet. I want to say like mini lesson plans, but also access to other lesson plans in terms of how much time you want to take with your students, essential questions that you want to ask when you're about to do these activities with them, and what kind of prep you need for the activity. So it guides your students through the different features that we've covered in the Learning Institute, not just this session, but starting at session 1. So how you can use the action plans that are basically by semester, fall, spring, and summer. So how you can, nudge your students to go in and do those action plans, check them off, what you want to do at each point in the year. And I do see those in the chat, so that's perfect. And it also follows a career exploration map because, as you know, doing career exploration, once with a student is just simply not enough. They change, their courses change, the things that they're interested in change, and the skills that they develop change as well. And so we've also, in this particular toolkit, specifically linked out to lessons and activities that are in our college and career readiness curriculum, which align really well with what you're doing with your students, either in middle school, high school, or beyond. So there's lessons that support those activities. There's some really great information on financial aid and paying for college and financial literacy, which we know has to start earlier. And one of the things that I really wanted to build into the toolkits was a scavenger hunt, because I think that's just kind of a really cool way to go around and find things and explore, but also have like guided exploration. So the next slide has just a couple of things that we wanted to highlight. This is that link. So it's a very short form for you to download the toolkits, and then you have access to whichever ones you would like. Please send on to your new colleagues or folks that are just getting started with My Texas Future also. And this is just an example of what the educator toolkit looks like. Doesn't have to be an administrator, but we'll show you where what's in here section by section in that table of contents. And that third page on the right shows you the stages of career exploration, which are built into My Texas Future. And that's an example of what some students can do in the fall and how they use the action plans and how they go ahead and take a look at that sort of checklist on what you want them to do year after year. And then the next slide is just another highlight of a couple of things that we wanted to have built into the toolkits. Those action plans are here. Here's resources for the spring, and it will show you exactly how you access those checklists or those action plans. And they will show you per grade level. This is an example of the 7th and 8th grade action plans. So what we want them to do starting in 7th, going into 8th. And then that other page on the right just talks a little bit about spring resources and how you follow that career roadmap using My Texas Future articles and tools in those different stages. And then I believe the next slide shows a couple of the things that you would do in a My Texas Future scavenger hunt. Finding a highest paying career, right? For those students that you do like reality check with, or maybe you just want to, have them learn how to do some of that career exploration by salary. Identifying and comparing 3 different careers and keeping those in their profile. Finding, I see one on here that's building habits in that web page and like some of those soft skills, what those habits, which ones are important, right? So lots of different things here that students can do when they do the My Texas Future scavenger hunt. And I'll turn it over to Jared.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. That scavenger hunt looks really fun, honestly, and I want to try it myself too. So thank you for showcasing that. But yeah, no, I'm just excited to announce the My Texas Future launch kits. So the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and Texas OnCourse are offering Texas educators the opportunity to receive a My Texas Future launch kit when they use the My Texas Future site with middle or high school students. So you might be wondering what is included in the My Texas Future launch kit. Well, the launch kit includes a My Texas Future charging coaster for educators. This is a cell phone charger for you to stay connected, which is pretty much a thank you from us for adopting this new tool with your students. There are also My Texas Future pins and highlighters, a set of 25 colorful dual pin highlighters that can be given to students or staff as incentives for engaging with My Texas Future as you see fit. We definitely encourage all to get creative with that. We also have My Texas Future student stickers. It's a fun and engaging way to reward students and promote the website. The kit includes 20 stickers for your students who complete activities on the site.
I'm going to pause for a moment just to let people scan that QR code.
And I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat too. That way they can have.
I put it in there.
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, just in case.
Thanks, team.
So you might be wondering, how can I request a My Texas Future launch kit? So launch kits were initially offered in our third session of the My Texas Future launch kit. However, we do have a launch kit form that I will go ahead and put that link in the chat as well. The link is going to remain active until all launch kit materials are no longer available. But once you do receive your launch kit, we want you to share out. And so ways to share, which is use the My Texas Future site with a group of at least 25 students who are 13 or older. Plan your learning event for any time before the end of this current school year. We definitely encourage you all to send us a few photos of your students using the My Texas Future site during their learning. Fill out a short feedback form after your event, and then share your learning event on social media with @MyTexasFuture. Then here is an image of the My Texas Future launch kit materials. You can see here, you can see the My Texas Future launch kit charging coaster, the dual pins and highlighters that are in a various assortments of colors. They look really nice. And then these student stickers as well, which are really fun. All right, we also have our last professional learning series session of the current school year. Don't worry, we will be back. We'll be back in August later this year. We're currently in the process of planning for new topics for y'all to continue supporting your efforts with students and families in college readiness. But our last session is building a college and career readiness culture, and this will be on May 13th. So this is preparing students for life beyond high school. And so this session will provide techniques on collaborating with colleagues, families, and communities across your campus and district. We definitely encourage all to share your fun and engaging activities and how you celebrate student success. We definitely want this to be a fun session since it is our last session, so definitely don't want to miss it. Also, exciting news, we have a new and fully updated Texas OnCourse Academy coming in August of 2025. We currently actually have some educators that might be here in the session that are testing out the new modules and courses in the Academy. So thank you all for that. Your feedback has been greatly appreciated as well. But yeah, we can't wait for y'all to take a deep dive into this material once it's released so we can continue being your source for college and career preparation. We also have the Texas OnCourse Network newsletter. I am the author of this newsletter. We are your monthly toolkit for college and career success. We definitely have monthly topics that are designed to guide you all throughout the school year. We encourage you to forward to your colleagues. Our next edition is released on May 7th, and we'll go over testing college readiness resources to help you during this time, which I know is extremely busy. We also have a brand new edition of the Abby Corner where we spotlight Abby virtual advisor manager Stephanie Villanueva, who gives a brief backstory on her professional journey and providing great follow-up questions and data from students related to the SAT, ACT, and TSIA2. So you definitely don't want to miss it. And also follow My Texas Future on Instagram. This is a great social media page on Instagram where you can find tools and resources and information to help your students chart their career path. There are amazing posts that include tips for creating a resume, benefits of attending community college, and highlighting great features in My Texas Future, such as the career interest quiz or the skill quiz that Amy showcased today, which was awesome, and things to consider when job searching as well with your students. And now I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Andrea.
Thank you, Jared. Yes, and of course, Amy, thank you so much, and Daniela sharing all the information about My Texas Future today. As we all know, we can always use support when we're navigating new tools and new platforms. So we are here to help, and we'll drop this link in the chat as well. So you can contact My Texas Future at support, My Texas Future support at higheredtexas.gov with any needs pertaining to the website or your account specifically. But you can also reach out to any of us if you have any questions about today's session that we haven't answered yet. We are going to still have some time for Q&A, but just wanted to throw this out here first. We're also going to include this in our resource document. So if you think of something later and you want to reach out to us, definitely feel like you can. All of our emails are included on the resource doc, which I will share with you right now. That our amazing intern Ari put together for us. So this resource doc contains all of the links that Jared and Lauren dropped in the chat today. So you have a one-stop document, make it a little more efficient for you all. In addition to some of the links that we covered today, some additional helpful links that will benefit you as you're navigating through My Texas Future with your students. And yeah, as Laura mentioned earlier, we're going to be sending this resource doc, the slide deck, and the recording out to you in our follow-up email. But in the meantime, if you're like me and you want immediate access, you can scan that QR code. I personally appreciate that. So if you want immediate access, feel free to do that. But again, it will be sent to you shortly in our follow-up email. So I'm going to go ahead and take a moment for us to have any additional questions and comments that we haven't answered yet. We've had a lot of great questions so far, and I know that you guys have been actively answering those in the chat. While we're answering those questions, we of course would love your feedback, and we still have plenty of time, so no rush. But just going forward, this is our final MTF Institute session, and just also remember you can always go back and view like the first three as well in our YouTube channel. But this is just a quick 5-minute survey. It's anonymous, but if you would like to provide more information about using My Texas Future with your students as maybe you've already started using it, or maybe as you start to, if you'd be okay with our product team reaching out to you to please provide just your email. Since it is anonymous, we would need your email if you're open to providing additional feedback. Because of course we're, continuously trying to grow and evolve, and it takes a village. So I'll let you guys, I'll look at the chat if we have any additional questions. Please drop those in there. And like I said, if you think of something later, you have additional questions later, feel free to reach out to any of us. I know sometimes I walk away from a session and I'm like, why didn't I ask X, Y, and Z? So no worries, you can reach out to any of us at any time. All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions. Is anyone else seeing any coming in? Okay. All right. Well, then thank you guys so much for joining us today. And thank you for participating in our last MTF session of this school year, but we'll be back. So we look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.